my dear friends, and welcome back to another video. So we just got the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 7, the Season 1 finale, In the Name of Honor. I'm going to be honest, I'm a bit conflicted with this episode. I'm still processing everything and reflecting on my overall thoughts, not just of this episode, but also on the season as a whole. But I will say I'm definitely not as negative about this episode as many people are. I certainly have issues with it, which I'm going to go into in a moment, but on the whole, it was way more satisfying than I initially thought it was going to be, tying up a lot of story elements I really didn't think they would. For one thing, it was much more Boba focused and did justice to the first 4 chapters of the show, as well as connecting the previous 2 chapters 5 and 6 as well. Some of the action, especially with Boba and Mando fighting the Pykes, was amazing, even if they were outnumbered. Seeing Boba pull out all of the stops was so great to see, and was very reminiscent of chapter 14 of The Mandalorian season 2. I love the use of jetpacks, and also the knee-pad rocket dart launcher. Boba was back. And of course the big highlight of the episode when he rode the Rancor, which was a treat on the eyes as expected. Another awesome inclusion were these droids. These are the Scorpinek Annihilator droids, which come from the concept art for episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So if these reminded you of droidicas or something else from the prequels, then that's why. They never ended up making it to screen in the prequels, so seeing this inclusion makes me really happy. And actually I came across them the other night because I'm using the book The Art of Attack of the Clones for the upcoming documentary that I'm working on to celebrate the 20th anniversary of episode 2. Now, as a prequels fan, there has been so much to love about the Book of Boba Fett, and in a big way, this series has been a love letter to episodes 1 to 3. And going forward, what an amazing year we have for the prequels. We've got the Bad Batch Season 2, Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is the big one, and of course the Andor series. Now look, while I absolutely loved a lot of elements of this episode, I've got to be completely real with you. I had a lot of issues with it. I wanted to love this episode so much, but I just couldn't get past the wasted potential of the plot. Now, some of you might say that the reason some fans didn't like this episode is because we had too many expectations or theories, and we made it out to be way more than it was. But can you really blame us? I mean, we're Star Wars fans. That's what we do. We love to speculate based on existing lore, and it's kind of a shame that our theories are often outdoing what Lucasfilm give us. And I think to some extent, it's reasonable to have expectations. It's a Boba Fett series, and the theories put forward, or at least the popular theories going into this episode, were not even that much of a stretch. And this time period after Return of the Jedi is a very exciting one to explore. And don't get me wrong, they definitely did this to some extent, and we definitely got some treats, but the way the season was paced and the way this finale was built up kind of left me feeling a bit underwhelmed, and I hate to say it. I'm generally a very positive person when it comes to Star Wars, but it fell short of what a Star Wars season finale needs to be. Another issue I had was the way it kind of undermined the impact of the Mandalorian season 2 finale. I mean, we all expected Grogu to return to Din, and I'm so glad he did, but it was done in a way that had no struggle to it. There were no conflicted feelings, there was no push and pull, it was not even Luke testing Grogu, we literally just see R2-D2 returning him. And it was so great to see Pelimoto and Grogu interact again. But the way that Grogu returned makes me think we may not see Luke again for a little while. I'm sure he's going to appear in the Ahsoka series, but as far as The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett goes, I think that's the last that we've seen of him. But don't get me wrong, Grogu reuniting with Mando brought a tear to my eye, and I love the poetry of Din protecting Grogu. If you don't know what I'm talking about, in season 1 the parents of Din Djarin hid him away to protect him from droids, and now an older Din Djarin is hiding his own son to protect him from the droids, and Grogu returns the favour and also deals with the Rancor with sleep inducement. And the sheer size difference really embodies Yoda's words of size matters not. Now, a moment ago I spoke about wasted opportunities. The biggest one for me was making the Pyke Syndicate the big villain of the show. Yes, they had Cad Bane as their muscle, but in a series that's based entirely on the galaxy's underworld, you'd expect them to tie in other syndicates and make the threat that Boba faces much more expansive, or at the very least, tease it for a second season. Why not include Black Sun, or whatever remains of Crimson Dawn? Now, another massive moment of this episode is when Boba faced Cad Bane. There were references to their previous encounters in the Clone Wars, and since Cad Bane knew Django, he even tells Boba that while he's trying to be soft, he has his father's blood in him, and he's adamant that Boba is still a killer. I thought it was cool that Boba ended up using his gaffy stick instead of his blaster to kill him, but the face-off was too short and blunt. As some of us expected, Cad Bane met his fate, and while it's sad that he's dead, it's a fitting ending to his life. Something else I loved in this episode was the Major Domo. He is truly hilarious. I know some people find him really cringe, out of place, annoying, or whatever, but I for one really enjoy what he brings to the show. It's comic relief done right. Now this episode pulled a bit of a sneaky on us. Throughout chapter 7, they made it sound like Cobb Vanth is dead from being shot in the shoulder by Cad Bane, but in the post-credits scene, it is confirmed that he is indeed still alive. That's great news because he has so much potential as a character, and Timothy Oliphant plays the role perfectly. He is healing in Boba's bacta tank, and the mod that saved Fennec is there to help our favourite Marshal. Another heart-wrenching moment is when Grogu gets his hands on his favourite toy, Mando's control knob, the one that reminds him of R2-D2. Now seeing Mando and Grogu interact in a Boba Fett episode made it very clear by means of contrast that Favreau is much more comfortable writing The Mandalorian than any other character. Now I know a lot of people are going to disagree with my opinion on this episode, but I must reiterate that while this is one of my more critical reviews, I would say on the whole, I enjoyed this episode, and I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I didn't love it, as I say, I have major issues with it, but it was good fun. It was not my favourite episode, and I'm not going to sit here lying to you guys pretending it was. As I said, at times it was peak Boba Fett content, but in many ways, it fell flat. And that is regardless of predictions and leaks that didn't come true. And I'll admit, I was very wrong about Kira, but it's kind of a shame they didn't include her. She would have fit in really well. On the whole though, for what it was, this episode worked and it was fine. I'm really hoping for a second season and they continue Boba's story. If not, then it's going to carry on in The Mandalorian Season 3. At the end of the day, what's really important is that he won the favour of the Mos Espa locals, and it's validating for him and Fennec to see that they're finally on their side. But if we do get another season, a larger threat could come and seek the territory now that the Pykes are out of the way. Maybe the aforementioned other syndicates. And with a second season, I'm sure they're going to be able to plan it better in terms of pacing now that they've completed one season and will be more familiar with this style of show. The Book of Boba Fett's identity as trying to distinguish itself as its own show while also reminding us it's part of the Mandalorian universe is a balance, and it seems like with this episode they seem to have got the hang of it. So going forward, I see that as a very positive takeaway. So now the Book of Boba Fett is over, we look forward to the Bad Batch Season 2 and Kenobi, which are both rumoured to be coming in May, and of course the recent rumour that The Mandalorian Season 3 is coming this Christmas. And one final thing, how cute was Grogu in the astromech compartment? But look, I've shared my thoughts with you guys, but I want to know what you think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below of Chapter 7. Were you happy? Were you disappointed? All opinions, as always, are welcome. Now, if you enjoyed my review and breakdown, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're brand new, and a massive welcome if you are. And why not consider checking out the link down below? It'll take you to my Patreon. Tons of videos on there that you can't find here on YouTube. But until the next one, my dear friends, where we're going to carry on this conversation, may the Force be with you always. I'm Star Wars Meg. Have a good one.